The U.S. President Donald Trump has to say that.
Practically is gone. You know, their drone factories are about 82% down, and their missile factories are almost 90% down. And many of their missiles have been knocked out. They used some, but we knocked out more than they used. And it's pretty amazing what's happened. They want to make a deal. But despite the fact that we are in what some people would call a war, we just hit a new high today on the stock market. We have S&P is through the roof. They're through the roof. And, you know, when we hit 50,000 on the Dow and 7,000 on the S&P, I said to myself, we got to do something about Iran. They want to have a nuclear weapon. You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. And I hated to do it to my people because they said 50,000. Peter, you know this, that 50,000 wouldn't be obtainable in my 4 years or anybody's 4 years. And we hit 50,000 in my first year, the end of my first year. We hit 7,000 on the S&P. They said that would be even less attainable. And we hit that at the end of the first year, before the year was up. And then I said to Kevin, sorry about this, Kevin, but we have to put out a fire. And the fire is taking place in the lovely country of Iran. And they want to have a nuclear weapon. And if we didn't use this beautiful, see that plane right there? That beautiful B-2 bomber. It looks small there, but it's actually quite, it doesn't look very powerful there, but it's quite large, actually. We ordered 25 more of them, the updated version, all built in America, which is very nice, right? But if we didn't have that B-2 bomber, if we didn't go in and do what we did, we obliterated that nuclear capacity of theirs. And so they didn't get the nuclear bomb. If we didn't do that attack, should have been done long before I came along by other presidents or by another country or something. But it should have been done long before I came along. But they are in very bad shape. And they've got nothing going, including leadership. I mean, you know, their leaders are gone. Now they have a whole new, their first string leaders are gone. Their second string leaders are gone. Now we're dealing with their third string. But we'll see what happens. It's been an amazing period of time between Venezuela and where we're doing great. We're getting along with them great. We're working very closely with them. They're doing more oil now than they've done in many, many decades, actually. And they're making more money, and so are we. You know, it's like a joint venture, to be honest. And we've paid for the attack many times over. The attack, something you've never heard before, probably. I always used to say to the victor, belong the spoils. But we paid for the attack, which is always expensive. But it was a less than 1 day attack. It was actually a 45-minute attack. And that's a good, you know, they have a good military in Venezuela. But they did not expect that and that and that and that. Other than that. But when these suckers come at you at 2,500 miles an hour, at 25 feet off the ground, you say, this is not what I bargained for. This is no good. Anyway, and now, you know, Venezuela was amazing, but now we're doing essentially, it's larger, but we're doing essentially the same thing in Iran. Can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And their economy is crashing. The blockade is incredible. The power of the blockade is incredible. They're not getting any money from oil. And hopefully it can be worked out very soon. Yeah.
Iran is proving to be very stubborn. The talks seem like they are stalled. Are you getting antsy to break the ceasefire?
Well, I mean, I don't know what stubborn is because really nobody knows what the talks are except myself and a couple of other people. They want to make a deal badly. We have a problem because nobody knows for sure who the leaders are. It's a little bit of a problem, you know. The leaders have been wiped out along with their military, almost all of their military. I mean, think of it. 159 ships was their total Navy. 159 ships are gone. They're underwater. They're way below sea level. Sea level is a big difference. Pretty deep waters over there, too. So, I don't know that we need it. We might need it.
And on Iran, a little while ago, the president of FIFA said that when the World Cup is here in the U.S., the team from Iran will be playing in the games.
Well, if Johnny said it, I'm okay. Did Johnny say it?
He did. What if they
Johnny
win?
Infantino, that's a piece of work.
What if they win?
Well, if they win, we'll have to worry about that. That's not, I'm going to have to worry about that one. Look, you know what? Let him play well. Johnny's fantastic. You know, he's a friend of mine. And he talked about it. I said, you do whatever you want. You can have him. You don't have to have him. Probably have a good team. I don't know. Do they have a good team? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Would be hard to believe, actually. But I think let him play. Right?
Mr. President, this is a little bit different, but what is your take on these reports that your show, The Apprentice, is going to could come back on Amazon with host Donald Trump Jr.?
Well, I've been hearing it. Look, we had a great success, 14 seasons, and The Apprentice was a tremendous success. So I've been hearing that, you know, a little bit. So we'll see what happens. He's good. He's a good guy. He'd be probably good. He's got a little charisma going. You need a little charisma for that soccer smash. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, they told me about it. We'll see.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. There's been some talks about changes to your security after what took place.
Changing my security.
Changing your security after what took place.
Well, they did a pretty good job, actually. You know, they stopped the NFL running back. I mean, he was like a running back. In fact, if he ever got out, they're probably going to sign him. He was a speedy guy. But he was stopped. They had many levels in front of him before he would even come to us. You know, you could be a baseball team and win 19-0, and somebody could say, you should have won 21. You should have gotten 25 runs. The team was no good or something. So I don't know. I can only say that I know a lot of those people, the Secret Service, and they were good and they were forceful. And I saw the guys in front of me. They were powerful-looking guys. I said we could send them to Hollywood. They could make movies. I think that there's always room for improvement, right? And he got into the building. The problem is that I know that's what I do. I build buildings like that, much nicer actually. But I build buildings like that. And you know, when you have 1,000 rooms sitting on top of a ballroom, and you have the elevators coming down right near the entrance, it's a pretty tough situation. Now, right outside, we have something that's on time, on budget, actually ahead of time.
All right, that was the US President Donald Trump speaking there at the White House. He has referenced Iran. He says he also referenced Venezuela, saying it's been an amazing period of time with what's happening there. They're making more money. He says it's like a joint venture. Let's now go to Alan Fisher, our US chief correspondent there. Alan, what stood out for me was that he said we have paid for the attack many times over, which is always expensive, in reference to Venezuela, perhaps because of the criticism that the Trump administration has been receiving on the mounting costs of this Iran war.
Well, certainly he says that they're taking in oil from Venezuela, but a lot of that money is going back directly to Venezuela unless something is happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to. I think perhaps the most startling thing when it comes to Iran is that when asked about the talks being stalled, he said, you don't know that. You don't. There's a couple of people who know what's going on with the talks, and that's me and a few other people. And he said that Iran is desperate to make a deal. Many times throughout the last 6 weeks, we've heard from the administration saying what Iran says in public is not what they're saying in private to the Americans. And Donald Trump kind of alluded to that again, suggesting that, yes, Iran is struggling because of the blockade. He's talked about how he could keep that in place and that they are looking for a deal. Otherwise, we heard a lot of what Donald Trump has said in the past, that they've destroyed the Navy, they've destroyed the Air Force, destroyed their air defences. But of course, we heard on Capitol Hill recently that Iran still maintains 40% of its drone capacity and at least 60% of its ballistic missile program. I may have got those numbers flipped around, but it's roughly that. And that suggests that if the ceasefire were to break, then they could respond to anything that the United States were to throw at them. Certainly there has been discussions in the Oval Office throughout Thursday, we are told, that discusses what the next stage is. And that's something that goes on all the time. They're constantly reviewing plans, constantly reviewing the situation. One of the things things that was being discussed was the idea of a short, targeted, very intense barrage on Iran that either forces them to the negotiating table or perhaps leads them leads the Americans to say that was the last thing that we needed to do and this war has been won. All of that will play out, but it's clear that Donald Trump doesn't seem overly worried about the ceasefire ongoing and seems very confident that Iran is chasing a deal. But once again, gave his direct line, no nuclear bomb for Iran, not now, not ever.
All right, thanks very much. Alan Fisher speaking to us there from the White House.